TuneCore updated their terms of service. So unbelievably jaw-dropping. I have not seen that in other distributor agreements. When I see something that is one-sided, unfair, or allegedly unlawful, I'm gonna call it out. They lock you out of your account, they take your royalties, and they don't communicate with you. Who do you think you are? As an entertainment attorney, I get hired a lot to review contracts. And those contracts include distribution agreements, terms of service. And so that's why I do terms of service review on this channel. So we usually focus on the big boy music distributors. And one of them is TuneCore. I have dealt not just the major music distributors, but I've specifically dealt with TuneCore in my practice. And here's the thing. Contracts are typically meant to be set up to protect both sides who are agreeing to the contract. So in this case, we have TuneCore, and then we have you, user of music distributor service. And, here's the thing. Music distributors are really just glorified banks. They are providing a service to distribute your music to music platforms, because you don't get to get your music on any platform unless you actually go through one of these companies. And then in exchange for that, they collect all the revenue, and typically they take a little piece. They're either going to take a portion of your revenue, or they're going to just have you pay, let's say, an annual fee. But they're not what we call fiduciaries under the law. Okay, so this is where I have a real problem with music distributors. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through the terms of service, and I'm going to accomplish two things. One, if you have ever seen me go through the terms of service for TuneCore in the past, you may have a little context of these specific terms. So I'm going to not only go through them for anyone who is new here. Hello, hi, don't forget to subscribe. Join us. We do music business content. But then number two, what I'm going to do is point out what is new. I have a little red line that I'm going to show you guys because TuneCore updated their terms of service. So in our effort to show what those changes are, okay, we're also going to go through and just make sure we understand what this contract says and what we are agreeing to. If you're excited, give me a big thumbs up and let's jump into it. So what I have done is create a red line. Us lawyers call a red line where we compare documents, and the red stuff is the red line. So the red stuff that you're going to see as we go through this is what was changed or added from the last version. The most latest updated version is December 30th, 2024. So this was just very recently updated. Now, when we do see some of my highlights, these are things that I just want to point out for your guys' benefit, okay? But I've not otherwise changed anything in here. So they specify, hey, this is the agreement that you are signing with us. This is a contract. So by clicking, I agree, you are irrevocably granting the company the right during the term, which is basically for as long as you distribute your music through TuneCore, you are agreeing to these terms and you can't take them back. That's why that word in contracts is really important, where it goes irrevocable. You cannot take it back. Okay. When we see that word, we go, all right, well, what can we not take back? And we're going to go through it. All right. So you'll first see that some of the changes here, right? So up at the top, they basically just, added, clarified other things that they cite to for policies and things like that. They did some formatting changes here. Okay. So you agree that you're not going to use the site and services to basically upload infringing copyrighted works. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is because right now, TuneCore is getting sued by Universal, and Universal is seeking $500 million in alleged copyright infringement. And here's the thing. I'm really not the biggest fan of TuneCore. However, with the lawsuit, I'm just like, this is so Universal trying to weaponize the Copyright Act by suing for hundreds of millions of dollars. They've done this. This is not the first time we've covered this. But in any case, I thought it was notable that they put it in their terms. They're like, hey, we're acknowledging that we really don't want you to violate people's copyright. So we put it in the terms. But guys, the things I care about the most is what impacts you, and specifically your income, your royalties. So you agree not to do a whole bunch of things. And we're going to start with streaming manipulation. My law office gets hired usually for two reasons dealing with music distributors the most. Alleged streaming manipulation is one of them. So, what happens is, I had mentioned, I'm like, music distributors are glorified banks. And so they are collecting revenue from the music platforms, the digital service providers, the DSPs. They collect the revenue. That revenue gets paid to the distributor. So in this case, TuneCore, and then TuneCore pays you out, right? Pretty simple. So the reason why I'm like, they're the bank is because they are acting like the bank, but it is your money. It is your royalties. So when this issue comes up of alleged streaming manipulation. It's that, for example, they might get a notice from Spotify. They're like, hey, Tony's song allegedly has been receiving fake streams, and so we, Spotify, are taking it down. And then usually without further investigation by these platforms, they don't fight it, they lock you out of your account, they take your royalties, and they do all these things, and then they don't communicate with you. And then you have to contact me. And then I kick down the door, and they'll talk to me. So in any case, so it's usually in regards to streaming manipulation, but they do clarify this, right? So they go, streaming manipulation means basically any artificial creation by human or non-humans, online, offline, to play the audio, right? So to basically represent that there are people listening to your music that is not actually real. So they go through and they define all the things of what that looks like. What they do here is they go, well, we don't like it. We're not cool with it, right? And we're not saying we want you to go and pay for fake plays. I wouldn't want you to do that anyway. Let's be clear. This is going to annihilate your algorithm, okay? It's not good. You really want the organic, even if it was 100 streams, 50 streams, whatever it is. You want the real thing, okay? Now, the problem, and the reason why I've kind of locked horns with TuneCore in the past is for the following. Marketing has always been such a pain point for me, and I've spent so much money trying to figure out how to do this and to actually grow social media organically, because whether you're in the music business or you have a business that's completely in a different field, I've done that from the different businesses that I have grown, including like for my music career. So if this is something that you need help with, I have synthesized all this information into a course. This thing is quick and dirty. It's meant to give you about under an hour of all the things that I know, the marketing schedule that you need, an actual game plan, what to post, when to post. So if that's something that you need help with, check out the link down below, Marketing Made Easy. So in their terms, they then go on to say, in the event that the company has, in its good faith discretion, so if TuneCore has reason to suspect that your account or recording has been subjected to, involved in, or generated revenue because of, and then they give a big long list. Okay? So they go, it's not just streaming fraud, but they go, any alleged copyright infringement, trademark infringement, right of publicity infringement, any intellectual property right failure to comply with the third-party licensing requirement, streaming manipulation. So they go on to just like, define everything under the sun. They're like, if we have reason to suspect. The reason why I care and why I'm just trying to really help you guys to understand this is that if they go, because we just suspect, we're going to ultimately lock you out of your account and we are going to take your royalties. And when I go through music distributor contracts, I look at kind of the severity of what the distributor is saying they're going to do, because that's number one. Number two is then in actual practice of lawyering for over 10 years now, I know how these companies operate, and that definitely dictates my opinion, knowing as a practitioner what they do when it comes to your guys' disputes, how they treat their artists. So keeping that all in mind, they go, we don't have to prove it. We don't have to prove it. It doesn't have to be a for sure thing. We just need to have a reason to suspect. Okay, so that's what the contract says. So if they suspect, then we're going to get to it. You agree to the following. You agree if we get notified, all revenue in your account, right, will be frozen. And for TuneCore, it is therefore forfeited, regardless of whether it was generated by any specific songs, right, or from a particular DSPs. So again, what they're saying is we just reserve the right. We're going to freeze your account and we will take your royalties. And for me, I just every single time, because this is not the first time that I've seen this in a distributor terms of service, okay, or distribution agreement, as they like to call them. But I go, this is unlawful because you are not a fiduciary, right? You are not someone that is allowed to just come and like take on these legal responsibilities on behalf of people and their money. There are different legal theories of what this is, conversion, right? They're taking something that's not theirs. But I go, look, you're a private company. Who do you think you are? You're a private company. So you reserve the right to kick us off your platform if you so choose, but you don't get to keep the royalties. We've been very successful as a law firm in just dealing with all these issues because it's not always just streaming manipulation, but you got locked out of your account. Something got taken down because you had a claim of like, there was a copyright infringement claim against your stuff. But, in any case, that is what this contract says. All right, let's keep going. So if the company determines that the revenues generated to your account are the result of improper conduct. So improper conduct is that list that we just went through, right, of potential claims. And if there's royalties that have already been paid to you, you agree to return such revenues to the company, right? So AKA, they can literally come knocking and be like, hey, you need to pay us back the royalties that were already paid to you. Again, yikes. Moving on, companies shall have the right to retain and or redistribute to third parties any funds or the monetary equivalent thereof which TuneCore determines in good faith discretion are attributable to your improper conduct. These words right here, TuneCore shall have the right to redistribute to third parties. So unbelievably jaw-dropping. I have not seen that in other distributor agreements because what they're saying is that, we can not only take your royalties, but we can literally give it to anybody else. Okay, so a third party could be a person, it could be grandma, it could be another company. And so, I find that incredibly outrageous. All right, so moving on, what else can they do? So they're saying also, if we have to do anything on your behalf, our legal fees, our expenses, we can deduct that from any monies, right? So any royalties that we owe you. And then, guys, here's the thing. I mean, this just like terrifies me. I'm going to be honest. So any money, not only can they basically take from your royalties, freeze your account, do all the things, but they go any payment method that you have given to us, right? So you trusting, a company, you're like, hey, here's my credit card to pay for your little fee. And then I guess they are saving your credit card information. And they say, if for any reason that like your royalties aren't going to cover whatever the expenses were, right? So like legal fees, right? Any other costs that they had to allegedly incur, they go, we will charge any payment method that you have already given to TuneCore, such as PayPal, credit card, debit card. From me, I just go, wow. Here's the thing. With anyone using TuneCore, I want to be fair about this because what a contract says versus what a company actually does sometimes can be two different things. So for those of you who have had great, experiences using TuneCore and you're fans of TuneCore, like amazing. Please drop a comment down below, share your experience, okay? That's important. That's good feedback for anybody who's interested in using this platform. But I'm just reading the four corners of their contract and I'm saying that it's making me real nervous. All right, but we're not even at the stuff that they changed. It's about to get better. So TuneCore shall have the right but not the obligation to review and monitor any activity, any stuff that you upload. Okay. You have to abide by the social media terms of use. Okay. Right here they go, company will pay you 100% of net income. I'm like, that's a little misleading because right here they go, net income is what we actually receive less. I'm like, okay, well, if it's less something, that means it's not 100% because they go on, they're like, it's going to be less taxes, fees, charges, expenses, our attorney's fees. And then this is the new stuff they added. So the taxes, fees, licenses, as well as marketing, advertising, promotion, distribution, delivery, and licensing of your songs. I'm like, shoot, I didn't know TuneCore was all marketing and advertising and promoting your music. That's cool. So they've added in this language to say that if we do this for you, we're going to, again, that big list that we went through of how they can pay themselves back. But then they go, additionally, this is new. You hereby authorize TuneCore to offset against any amounts owed to you pursuant to these terms, any amounts that you may owe to company, whether under an indemnification for costs, expenses, taxes, penalties, You hereby acknowledge that you understand these offsets may create a negative balance in your account. So here's the thing. In the overall aggressiveness of how they protect themselves, how they can recoup fees and expenses that you never actually agreed to, not loving it so much. Okay. But now the new hot language that they just added, because I'm like, oh, maybe they've made this more fair towards artists. Maybe they saw our videos kind of calling them out. So far, it seems like they're just making this more robust to protect themselves. And that's not going to work for me. I'm looking for a distributor that's going to be fair to the artists that they serve. Because here's the thing, artists have to use music distributors. This isn't like, oh, you chose to use this private company. You have to, no. This is a different situation because artists have no choice. They have to use one of these distributors. And so when I see something that is one-sided or unfair or allegedly unlawful altogether, I'm going to call it out. Okay? Let's keep going. Guys, I just want to remind you, especially for this agreement, you have 1 year from the time that you get a statement to make a problem about it. Okay, there's language in this. I've seen this in many contracts, which is if you don't raise an objection, you lose the right. Very important. So that's why you need to pay attention. Don't just assume the accounting is correct. If you have questions, please reach out. If you have a problem, please reach out to them or to me, and I'll reach out on your behalf. You know what I'm saying? So just know about that statute of limitations. All right, the net income posted to your account will be pooled in an interest-bearing bank account. Again, this is the first and only time I've seen anything like this in a distributor agreement. Okay, so what they say is they go, hey, just letting you know that we're going to take your money. And as your money is sitting in what they call a pooled account, this is an interest bearing account. We are going to make money off of your money, and you're not going to get any part of that. So they go, you agree that you will not receive interest or other earnings on the income from this pooled account in consideration for your use of our services. You irrevocably transfer and assign to TuneCore any ownership right that you may have in any interest that may accrue in this account. The feeling that I get, right? And I'm not a real feelings kind of gal. I'm a lawyer over here, but the feeling that I get is not great. Let's keep going. All right, so scrolling down, they go through and they just kind of describe, things like subscription fees. They talk about the term. Now, here's one thing I was like, oh, that's good. There's no required term that I can see in this terms of service. So meaning the terms of service shall apply at all times while you utilize the site or services. So arguably, you can terminate at any point. You can take your music down. And, for you guys who, ever do want to transfer between music distributors, you just want to make sure you have your metadata saved. Okay, so this is going to be ISRC numbers, and so that you can re-upload your music to another distributor, retain your plays, right, on music platforms. Okay, so that's one good thing. But we move on to confidentiality. We care how is a music distributor going to protect not only like your personal data, but your music in general. So let's see what they have to say. In their confidentiality section, they go, you agree that TuneCore has the right to provide information relative to the sales of your music to third parties. Oh, there we go again. Third parties. That could literally mean anyone. To aggregate such information in charge and other comparative information materials and to disseminate the same in any manner. Okay, so AKA, you're going to just use the information of the sales of my music and give it to whoever you think you want to give it to. Okay, don't love that. But that's what they say in regards to confidentiality. And then here's one other thing. So this hasn't changed. And when we went through this, what was it, like a year ago at this point? This was something I was really surprised by. Again, I have not seen this particular term in any other distributor agreement, but they go, the barcodes that we give you, right, that are free, when you sign up on the platform, you get the ISRC, which is a international number. It's different than the barcode. The barcode is the UPC. So they're going, look, you get this thing for free when you use our platform, but the UPC you actually have to pay for if you end up selling, you transfer the music to someone else. And that happens. Guys, we've done $20 million of music catalog sale in the last 2 years. So you guys are making a lot of really good money, literally selling your catalogs outright to someone else. Cool. But this obviously catches my eye because I go, all right, so you're telling me that if we go and we sell one of your albums or a couple of your albums, we have to come back to TuneCore and we're going to pay, I guess, $25 per barcode or UPC? Okay, so I guess keep that in mind as well. In regards to AI, this is the last time that we spoke about TuneCore because TuneCore had sent out this email notifying people that it was releasing this AI data protection program. And they're like, you should opt in. And we go, oh, wow, what are they trying to do? This sounds so exciting. And so this was, a separate video, but to overly simplify it, their terms of service for AI was 2 parts. One, hey, opt in. Let us train from your music. We're going to train our AI. And then if we end up using the AI for some business venture and we make money, we're going to give you a little taste. They didn't define how much money you're going to make. What's the share? How do they do that calculation? What's the accounting? Nothing like that. They just said that's what it is. Okay. So that was number 1. Number 2, they go, we're also, and this is where the name comes from, the AI Data Protection Program. We're also going to act on your behalf to monitor if someone else is trying to use your music to train AI or whatever. we're going to potentially go after them for you. So as we went through the terms of service, they were like vague, poorly defined, basically getting you to opt in and give your music to a company to train on your stuff, potentially for free, because they're like, we may pay you if something happens and we make money. But also, I'm like, well, what if the company trains the AI and then maybe they don't like launch the thing? So anyway, it was very worrisome. Not something I would ever do. But in any case, they also updated the terms because here's the thing. At least as of now, it's a voluntary opt-in because people are getting sued all over the place. And by people, I mean AI companies, because they are using other people's content, other people's music and pictures and videos, and they're getting sued. And so right now, AI companies are being a little bit cautious. They're getting you to just volunteer and just to give you the right, to give the companies, the rights to your stuff. And you don't understand that you cannot get back the consent, the lack of licensing for your stuff to train the AI. So in any case, that's a whole other video, but they did update the terms of service generally. And it is voluntary still, right? So in the event you opt in, you do need to opt in. And they changed it. They're like, it used to be TuneCore's AI front row seat program. And I'm like, ugh. So they changed it and they're like, it's the data protection program. Yeah, all right. But in any case, they did make that change. All right, so legal proceedings. You hereby irrevocably authorize, and guys, this kind of goes to this policy right here. And just one more thing. Roll with me. When it comes to the, AI and the opt-in and stuff like that, where I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. If ever I come back to these terms of service for this company, for any of these companies, and they've taken out the you have to opt in thing, that's what I'm just like terrified of. Because right now there's this tiny little barrier that you have to actually, click the button and say, yeah, I'm cool. Let's opt in. I agree with it. You're signing the contract, you're signing the contract by doing that. I really don't want that for you guys. Okay. And I'm really worried about it. But at least right now, they don't just have it in here. My problem with these contracts is that they'll just have stuff in them, right? And they're like, you're just agreeing to this. And people often don't read these things. So that's why we do this. Anyway, so in the legal proceeding sections, it's talking about you're giving the right to TuneCore, as well as its agents, its attorneys, to file lawsuits on your behalf. And that, potentially could be a good thing. That is the attraction with this AI data protection program. They go, hey, if you opt into this, we reserve the right to pursue claims on your behalf. It's like having your own little attorney. Now, the problems are that you don't know that they're actually going to do it. There's a whole process, time delays. They're probably going to have preferential treatment to, certain artists. Anyway, so setting that aside, I go, well, it does say that right now. In the terms, it says we reserve the right to basically file any claims, demands, actions, proceedings, all on your behalf if we reasonably think enforcement is necessary. Okay, cool. I hope they do. Okay, they did some more formatting. Again, the red indicates that's the new stuff that they added from the last time. TuneCore shall not be deemed in breach. So this is a practical thing, guys. If you have a problem with TuneCore, it specifically says that you have to give written notice, okay? And you have to give 30 days for the company, for TuneCore, to remedy this. So just make sure that you actually do provide written notice. So you can kind of go through these steps if you have a problem. And then here's the thing. This is called a force majeure event, meaning an act of God. In contracts, there's an act of God provision, which is like, hey, we've agreed to do all these things. If a hurricane comes, there's a tornado, it wipes out our office, we can't work. There's basically a place saver to say it's not a material breach because we literally couldn't do what we promised to do. They go a little deeper than that, and I just wanted to point it out. So they go in the event of a force majeure event, which prevents us from paying you to your account, or you can't actually withdraw it from your account, TuneCore shall be excused from making any payments, right, due to that force majeure event. Okay, all right. And any such net income payments shall be paid after the conclusion of whatever's going on. But they go on and down here and they go, notwithstanding the foregoing. You should do this in like a fight with your loved one. You're like, I know you were upset about not, I didn't take out the garbage and I left the front door unlocked and, I didn't take the dog out. Notwithstanding the foregoing. That sentence basically eradicates everything else that you just said. That's what it means. So, notwithstanding the foregoing, in the event that TuneCore anticipates the force majeure event will prevent the payment to you of whatever's owed to you indefinitely, okay? Like, we're not sure if we're going to be able to pay you ever, or that a force majeure event may permanently prevent you from receiving or withdrawing your royalties, TuneCore shall use best efforts to provide you with prior written notice about what's going on, okay? In such instance, you shall have the right to terminate your TuneCore account at any time while the force majeure event preventing payment to you continues, and all this lead up just for this. And company shall not be liable to you for any portion of your royalties which is unable to pay you. So it's like, as long as we tried. So, like, it's another mechanism where they're like, we're going to be able to keep your royalties. And I'm like, as I'm looking at these distributors, I go, like, truly, for those who get locked out of their accounts and just end up giving up, I've seen that happen. Okay. Or, it's one of these situations where there was some fraudulent claim put on you because of alleged fake streaming or trademark infringement or whatever. And then you can't get a response from these companies, right? Because maybe they have a staffing issue. Maybe they just don't care. I don't know. But when I'm reading through these contracts, and there's all these ways they're like really taking the time to make sure it's clear they get to take your royalties, I can only speculate and daydream about the amount of money that they are likely earning from these business practices. I mean, I would imagine it's in the hundreds of thousands, truly, per year. In no event will TuneCore or any of its people, right, employees, directors, agents, be liable to you for damages whatsoever, including, so it goes indirect, incidental, punitive, consequential. So that's like fancy ways of saying all the damages you could seek, like your attorney's fees. Sometimes the law allows you to seek more money than you're actually entitled. So if you're like, you locked me out of my account and now I'm like down $10,000 of royalties. Well, under the law, sometimes if the activity is so egregious, right? A court, a jury, they might give you the 10,000 and then they're like, hey, I'm going to give you another 100,000. Those are called punitive damages, where they kind of make the example of someone who has done something really bad. So what they're saying here is like, hey, just letting you know that we're going to make it so you can't get these things. And by the way, the most that you can sue us for is up to $100. Okay. And then they go, hey, New York is the controlling law. The parties to this agreement waive the right to the trial. So you cannot seek a trial by jury. Oh, and by the way, TuneCore may assign this agreement to anybody at any time without your consent. I want to point this out. So they just go, look, to the extent you ever have an issue and you need to report something, there's copyright at TuneCore.com, any notices or communications that you do need to send, right? So take a look at this if you guys ever do need to send some kind of communication. So let's recap. For the terms of service, I was really excited to see that they had updated them. And as you guys saw, and in fact, let's just recap really fast, there was was it just one? So we did some formatting. Again, the red is the what's changed. So there were some formatting changes. And then really, we had some language added about all the additional ways that they're going to be able to take from you and your royalties. Okay. More formatting. And then I think it was just here in the beginning, just kind of updating, right? So sorely disappointed to see that TuneCore has not made any of the changes that we basically are call to action. And, the many, many issues that we had with TuneCore over the last 12 months, that they may have done something just to be like, we hear our community out there. We really are here for artists, for musicians. Like, didn't see any of that. So guys, whether you use TuneCore or not, I would love your feedback. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.